Bienvenidos y bienvenidas otra vez. Welcome to PNN KEXU Poor People's Revolutionary Radio at 96.1 on the dial in East Oakland, Huchin territory, and streaming live online at www.portmagazine.org/radio. This is Muteado Silencio con voces de migrantes en resistencia. In studio with fellow formerly House's poet and Pablo Scala Micanala Tiny. And you probably Scala Tiburcio Garcias on the ones and twos.
Yeah, this is PNN, not CNN, people. That's Poor People's Revolutionary Radio. You aren't beautiful. Sidewalks, great, are beautiful. Tents erased are beautiful. People who slept on Mama Earth without rent, now set for arrest. Oh, no, that's beautiful.
Keep it locked until the end to see the complete podcast from Pablo Scala, Politricks, and RESETS. On today's broadcast of Poor People's Radio, we speak with warriors, resistors from the Lenape and Tuyalamo territory, New York to Frisco, on the lies in the carceral reset program proposed by the San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie, then on to the politics or hypocrisy for New York City's new mayor. But first, hear from the Ruthless Radio, how's the survivors in Huchun struggling with the violence of being outside because of the lie of rent, then sweat like we are trash.
Okay, can you tell me your name, please?
My name is DeAndre. I go by Dre.
And how did you become houseless? What's your story?
Basically, I was living with, roommates and fell into hard times as far as the job. Got laid off and was unable to keep the place and ended up getting evicted and been, going from place to place ever since, trying to get, more structured foundation as far as jobs and everything.
And what's been your struggle with trying to get housing if you've been trying to get housing right now?
Just credit score, and I guess having the money to keep up with the rent. Everything's expensive out here in the Bay Area.
Real.
And finally, what would you tell other people who are going through the experience right now in the Bay Area?
Don't give up. Push forward. Just push forward,
Thank you.
Yeah, I say, just want to lift up the fact that even if you're trying to pay the lie of rent, you can't. It's people, I'm sure everybody, listeners understand. We're talking about, $1,500 for one room and $4,000 for a one bedroom. And these are insane prices put on Mama Earth. Again, going back to the commodifying and the profiting off of Mother Earth. We just do as what we can as poor folks. We're trying to build solutions that are built by us, for us, and for everyone else that are not rooted in profiting off of Mother Earth. As indigenous peoples, as poor and houseless people, we don't own Mother Earth. The relative you just heard from is currently in the Homefulness Hotel Fund, which is just something we put together with folks throwing down. Ain't no voucher, ain't no Politricks program, and it ain't no philanthropy, and it's just poor people trying to support other poor people. So if you can support us, we appreciate it always, because that's the only way we do it, through radical redistribution and radical sharing. I say that to say that in these settler towns, from Uchun to Yalamu to NYC, they continue to sweep us like we're trash. Sweep, the hygienic metaphor of sweeping humans like we're trash. I don't look like a paper cup. I know my brother doesn't either. I don't look like a fork, right, or a piece of foil. But really, that's what we're reduced to in this vision of success in a capitalist system. And so now we're seen as garbage to throw away. And the other option they come up with is incarceration. Last week we had a kerfuffle on Poor People's Radio, which was just confusion. But people should listen to last week's Poor People Radio. It was beautiful. We heard from the relatives who resisted at the Vulcan to create an actual rent-controlled unit after fighting the city. But we were starting out with these, deconstructing this lie of resets. And this week we have the blessing of having a warrior who's been digging into this weird concept of reset, which is being promoted by Mayor Daniel Lurie of, one of the settler towns is one of the most dangerous people for poor people to live, to be seen. God forbid you walk down the street houseless in that town, because they will take your tent, they will take your tarp, and they will throw you in jail. We're going to show a short video just to introduce this, and then we're going to bring in our warrior. Go ahead, Tipu.
Is officially taking a new approach to combat public drug use.
If you use drugs on our streets, we will arrest you. But with this new resource, we will also give those suffering from addiction a real chance to choose recovery.
Mayor Daniel Lurie signed legislation that opens the doors for the Rapid Enforcement Support Evaluation and Triage, or RESET Center.
What we're looking for is putting them in a therapeutic, healthy environment for them to start the beginning.
Well, first of all, I can just say, as someone who's connected to all of our warrior poverty scholars and advocates in Yelamu, as Poor Magazine was houseless there and started out there, they're doing this lie right now while they're closing and harassing powerful projects like City Vital, shout out to Junebug and others, cutting back housing budgets so severely that we have nowhere to go, and taking away the actual resources that are already there. So we're going to be bringing in our warrior relative. Welcome to Poor People's Radio, Leah.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, great to be here with you.
For sure. Can you tell listeners and viewers what you learned about this weird, I don't know, sci-fi horror movie called The Reset Center?
Yeah, that's really a perfect way to describe it. It is truly the worst combination of the drug war, capitalism, right? Just the old new attack on poverty. And this is really why the mayor ran for mayor. He tells the story that he was walking down the street with his son, and his son was witnessing poverty. And he decided in that moment that he needed to run for mayor, right, so that his son would not have to witness that on the streets of San Francisco, so-called. Wow. So this reset center is really just part and parcel of that drug war that, never ended, but Lurie's obviously trying to reinitiate it. And, what really caught my attention was this idea that it's not a jail and it's not a hospital, right? That's what the sheriff, Miyamoto, described it as. It's not a jail, it's not a hospital, it's something in between. But we know it's incarceration, no matter what they call it.
Wow. I mean, and if you can maybe just to flesh out what this quote unquote program, or how much you found out about what really happens.
Exactly. So essentially, this is a so-called sobering center, right? That's what they're calling it. Everyone who is brought there is going to be brought there involuntarily by the cops. That's by definition. And so they're basically going to be scouring the streets for people who quote unquote appear intoxicated, bringing them into this place. And by the way, this is only for people who don't have active warrants. So anyone else is going to be just straight up incarcerated, right? But so if you are this magical person who has no active warrants or any kind of background, you'll be sent to this quote unquote sobering center where they hold you for up to 24 hours. It's really unclear what kind of medical care there is. Apparently, there's one nurse for 25 people. Then the entity that the city has contracted with, they get paid based on how long they can keep you. So if they can move you from the 24 hours to whatever comes after that, some other kind of incarceration, they get paid more. So it's basically an incentive for this corporation, this venture capital backed corporation, to disappear unhoused loved ones off the streets and funnel them into who knows what. Like, where does it end? How do we
Right.
get out of this system?
Wow. I mean, I just have to take a step back too, because a couple things you said that I didn't bookmark, and I want to bring back. This whole idea about Lurie and his son. I mean, me and my son, who's right now on the ones and twos, we're houseless in Frisco. This idea that you're going to protect your child from the poverty that you created. I mean, he's a wealth hoarder. He's part of that system. His family extracted money from poor and indigenous people across Mother Earth to, to hoard gads and gads of bloodstained dollars. So there's that bizarreness, and even that's how you talk about poverty with your child is disturbing. The other thing, though, just to go forward, what about the existent detox and treatment programs that already happen in Frisco? Why the reinvention of the wheel, which I find is a settler colonial lie that these politricksters love to do? Do you have any sense what that SF is about? Are they just pretending none of them exist?
They're saying it's not good enough because there's this group of people who won't go to these centers. They continue to exist in public, according to these folks, intoxicated. So it's really they've created this option purely for the kidnapping and disappearance of folks who are not engaging with the existing services for whatever reason.
Wow. Do you have any sense of the kind of money we're talking about to support this nightmare?
So this contract that was just signed into law by the mayor is for $14.5 million for a pilot project.
Wow.
It's going to last 3 years, possibly could be extended. Who knows? Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention that this site that they've located is directly across from the jail. It's in the Soma district. So it's located right across from the jail there. So if that, doesn't send a message, I don't know
Wow.
what else.
That part. And then that money is being pulled from what? Because I hear tell, for listeners and viewers who don't know the budget in Frisco, that they have been slashing existent programs, existent housing budgets, existent services. I wonder where that money's coming from for more carceral quote programs, right?
Precisely. They just basically vacuumed up, sucked up, funneled up $17 million from public health that was primarily serving Black, Indigenous, people of color, queer folks. They just siphoned that money into the sheriff's office to contract with this foreign entity that's based in Arizona that comes up with these carceral places. And they're trying to drop this mixed crisis carceral model all across the country.
Well, that was my next question. Who are these people that are going to run this thing?
Yeah, they are called Connections Health Solutions. Anytime you hear anyone talking about solutions, run, right? And yeah, so they're based in Arizona. They received 2 infusions of venture capital in 2021 and 2023, like $60 million purely to spread their carceral crisis services. I mean, they have this thing called the Crisis Receiving Unit, which can be voluntary or involuntary. But once you get in there, you can't get out. And then they funnel you into these other places. And you read the reviews of these places. It's the only way we can understand what the conditions are like inside, like the Google reviews that people leave. And they are absolutely atrocious. Like they say, this is a prison. They often are located in literal warehouses, these crisis places that they are funded by venture capitalists to spread around in the name of diversion from
Wow.
jails and prisons. But it's just a third form of incarceration that we haven't come up with a name for yet.
I mean, I'm really terrified actually, hearing the Arizona connection, aka occupied Pueblo territory, with the land of Joe Arpaio and other terrifying fascists. That's actually really terrifying. And then venture capital. Oh my God. So this is just a big money thing. This is him making some cash for his bros. Wow.
It really feels like that. It feels kind of like that tech bro mentality of like, how they talk about move fast and break things.
Right.
That's kind of how they're addressing this crisis place. Like when people were challenging them at the city council meeting, they were like, yeah, we want to do this. We're going to try this. And then if it doesn't work, we'll do something else. It's like, this is the attitude
Wow.
with people's literal lives and existences. And so, yeah, it is just very much this kind of sense of these Wild West tech bros coming up with solutions with their buddies.
Damn. What, did you want to add anything?
Well, just thank you for speaking about the reset program and telling it like it is. That it sounds like they're going to be profiting off of incarcerating people who are already dealing with struggles, right, with houselessness. We just and we know that's why we talk so much about housing our folks. And we know that one of the first thing we want on the streets, it's which is abundant with drugs and all of these things that sometimes unfortunately we use to numb what just happened, the loss of family, the loss of housing. And again, I think we know that the real problem is the lack of housing and folks not be able to be inside.
Wow.
For me, just as an activist, as a community, you see also what's happening with the pandemic of the drug addiction. What are some of the real people solutions that you might think might be able to work and change what's happening to our folks? Again, remind folks that at some point this was someone's brother, sisters, daughters. This is some of our grandparents and grandmas out there. Any thought on that? Whatever, again, for us is approaching that our relatives who are going through addiction stuff is an illness, right? It's an illness, and they shouldn't be criminalized. Bringing garba mate, it shouldn't be criminalized. It should be with real medical
And healing.
and healing.
Alternatives. Yeah.
Precisely. And none of that can happen, right, in absence of housing justice, right? Continuing to patch people up, these systems, quote unquote, patch people up and throw them back out into hell, right? And so, the very solutions that, the actual solutions that we know work, like housing without preconditions of sobriety, housing first model. This is precisely what the Trump crime syndicate is defunding and going after, right? Is that housing first model that says you deserve housing. You don't have to be sober. You don't have to jump through any hoops. You get support. If you have a disability, you get help for that. I mean, so it's really supporting a person holistically to remain housed, to get the care and support they use, but that they would like, but not to enforce or force things on people, right? I think we know involuntary treatment, it's not even treatment, right? It's harm. And so really we know that voluntary supports that meet people's actual needs, those are the kinds of things that work. Community, love, connection,
Ashe.
not being siphoned into these systems, right, that just funnel you through various
Yeah.
levels of care, that's not the actual solution that's going to be sustainable, right? It's
Ashe.
doing precisely what you all are doing, is the redistribution, is supporting whole human beings and families without judgment. We're seeing things move in the precise opposite direction with just this current re-embrace of involuntary quote unquote treatment that we know never went anywhere, but they're just trying to amp it up in a big way. So it really
Yeah.
is just common sense approaches that we know help. And
Right.
they make it into something so complicated like it's rocket science.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to also lift up on the Hobo Ismo that we have one of our elder residents, formerly houseless, many years on the street, self-identified hobo, Uncle Francis, when on Poor People's Radio a couple weeks back, was talking about this terrifying detention center, aka prison, that they're building for houseless bodies in so-called Utah. It really actually mirrors a lot of this shit. Excuse my French on the FCC dial. But I do want to name that again. If people do not understand, there are programs that already exist in Occupied Yalamu Frisco that are beautiful programs that do what Leah has just said. Programs like City Vitals with Junebug, programs that the community actually creates. Supporting poverty scholars, but there's also budgets that actually build housing that this politrickster, this gentrifier mayor is actually slashing. So there is no intention here to house us. There's definitely intention to harm us with this. Thank you, Leah, so much for coming. How can people read your story? Can you tell them? I know you have a story on Substack about this. Can you just tell us what that is, where they can get it?
Yes, I do write on Substack under my name, Leah I. Harris. And then I also write for Filter, which is an independent harm reduction magazine, and that's where I've been doing that reporting on the Reset Center, so called.
I say, thank you so much. Welcome you always to come to Poor People's Radio. Appreciate the hard work on this, and thank you.
So much love. Thank you.
All right. You're listening and watching Poor People's Radio. That's PNN, not CNN, people. Us poor and houseless people building our own channel because we don't need more About Us Without Us media. Creating About Us Without Us carceral solutions that are never solutions while they sweep us like we're trash. We have the perfect connection here now. Moving on to Occupied Lenape territory. More politricks, more tricks. We're going to talk a little bit about what's happening to our relatives in the snow. Because, guess what? They sweep us in the snow. It's like they sweep us in the rain, and they sweep us in a fire, and essentially, again, because we're now no longer considered humans. We are blessed to have one of our family members, our compañeros from Lenape territory with us. We're going to, from Rent Refusers, and we're going to start by just showing a little corporate media on the Politricks in Lenape. Go ahead, Thibault.
Okay, Janice, thanks. When you're talking about that cold, we know that Mayor Mamdani's top officials face some tough questions about the city's response to the deadly cold. News 4's Andrew Siff live at City Hall with more on that new response, Andrew.
Yeah, Natalie, this was an emergency hearing held at the city council as city lawmakers trying to ask about those 18 cold weather outdoor deaths and whether any of them could have been prevented. 2 weeks after the snowstorm and in the wake of 18 deaths, city officials today admitted the initial blast of frigid weather caught everyone off guard.
The temperature dropped really sharply, really fast. And that happened on a Friday night. It caught people by surprise.
Under oath at City Hall, Social Services Commissioner Molly Park, who's resigning in the weeks ahead, acknowledged there will be lessons learned from this winter's cold weather deaths. But at today's emergency city council hearing, new data revealed Of the 18 deaths as of Monday, 15 are believed to be hypothermia related. 8 of them already confirmed hypothermia.
These New Yorkers should be alive today.
Council Speaker Julie Menon
You
questioning the city's
can bring
policy
it down.
of letting homeless New Yorkers deemed mentally fit.
Yeah, all of that. To tell us the truth going on in that settler town. Even under, unfortunately, yes, the prince of solutions that we all hoped for, Mondami. Welcome, rent refusers. Welcome, relatives, to Poor People's Radio. Welcome back to Poor People's Radio.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
For sure.
So I think we're going to go back a little before Madani came into office. And for 4 years, Eric Adams had this very aggressive sweeps campaign that was like persecuting people on the street, pushing them from one corner to another, depriving them of their belongings without giving them any housing solutions. It was just enforcement. You don't belong in this space, move to another. And Mamdani was very open to receiving guidance and advisement from homeless advocates. So he already had the information. He had publicly come out against sweeps because they don't house people. They don't get people off the street. Like all the data showed, the city's own data showed that 95% of people that are swept refuse the shelter options that they're offered because they already know that they're awful. They know they're dangerous, unsafe places where they are neglected and warehoused. They are jailhouse conditions. It is 50 people in one room, just put out of sight and forgotten. So obviously people don't choose to do that. People just choose to move to the next corner. So Mamdani was saying publicly before he got into the office, after he won the election, that he would not be doing sweeps because it's ineffective, it's cruel, it's not a solution to ending street homelessness.
Right.
And they won in office. We realized that sweep notices were not going up. That's the notice that the city puts on an encampment to let them know that on this certain date they will be back to evict them from that space. So we realized, okay, it looks like he's following through on his campaign promise. And then we did have, I think he kind of flubbed the way that he went about it, because he should have made a statement. We are no longer doing sweeps, but we will be doing this instead. We will intensify our outreach, give people better options they can accept, take care of their needs, the various needs people have on the street that make it difficult for them to go inside. But he didn't do that. He just stopped conducting sweeps. So when people start to notice that these encampments were growing, obviously the far right media, like the New York Post, came out and they're the one who broke the story that he had stopped doing sweeps. And they put in the worst light, the city is abandoning people on the street. And then what happened was we had this terrible, historically cold, like brutal, like winter event. It was like 3 weeks of sub-freezing temperatures, and 20 people died. So immediately fingers started pointing to, hey, you left those people on the street. If you had sweeps, they wouldn't be on the street. But everyone knows that sweeps do not take people off the street. It just pushes them from one alley to the next. Those people, one person, the 19th person that died, he had been swept like dozens and dozens of times at the same location where he died at. The sweeps did not save him.
Wow.
So under that pressure, and just taking I think the cowardly way out, instead of like standing by the data and his convictions that made him say that sweeps are ineffective publicly, he backed down and he reinstated sweeps. And he's trying to paint it as a more humane sweep. He's saying the homeless service is going to lead the way, not police. But like that's exactly the same way that Adams tried to describe it as. And there's this perception that sweeps take people off the street, and it's not. Sweeps is just the police enforcing a removal.
That part.
Outreach, like engaging with people, meeting their needs is what takes people off the street.
Thank you.
So right now we're back to this like, sweeps era, and we're just gearing up for it.
Yeah.
We're establishing like our community defense networks. We're stocking up on tents and sleeping bags and whatever materials need for when the city comes and takes away their belongings and throws in the garbage truck. We'll be able to support them to be like replace what they lost. And that's what makes the city give them options they need. Mm-hmm. If they disappear them, if they make them like be on the run and hiding on the subways, that's what they want. They want people not to be seen. If people are homeless, they should be able to say, "Hey, here I am. Give me what I need."
Ashe, thank you. I mean, first of all, thank you to y'all, because you are some of the warriors who are down on the front line, actually making sure people have what they need, not more violent sweeps like we're trash. And it's really beautiful the way you put it, because I often say, no matter how many times you swept me, jailed me, or incarcerated me, it didn't give me a home. And I think that, this narrative, right, of erasure is really all they want to sell. And, when they put a veneer of these beautiful words and politricks on top of it, we already know that the point is erasure. The point is we don't want to see houseless people on our bougie streets of our settler town. Even though, of course, capitalism causes houselessness, and we already know that. And now we're no longer seen as humans under this Supreme Dragon court ruling, aka the Eighth Amendment. And so, yeah, we're just fodder to be disappeared, as you pointed out. And I think it's really important, though, to lift up the actual solutions that y'all are doing. We're trying to do with homefulness. We are broken. We're broken on these stolen streets. And no, we do not want to go into another jail. Most of us have been in jail. You couldn't put me and my mama, when we were houseless, you couldn't put us in a shelter. Don't even talk about that ish. Not to mention the fact that we were predated on when we did go inside in one of these warehouses. But yeah, it's straight up, it's violence to be forcing people into, especially people who are dealing with extreme PTSD, trauma, all of the stuff that we're struggling with on the street. Is there pushback? I know there's this big, social media war where people are trying to defend him, and it's a really interesting moment, right? Because hella people who are throw down for social justice and supposedly don't want to sweep us like we're trash really don't want to hear that Mondami is doing this. Like, don't say that about my boy. But unfortunately, you know what I feel me on that? I don't know if you wanted to say anything about that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, so, the people I'm in community with, we're beyond having any faith in electeds.
Thank
We
you.
have faith in each other. We're looking at a world beyond like parties and government and control and domination.
Ashe.
So that's what we have faith in. But yes, it's good when there's some sort of relief, when there's some sort of like easing of the persecution, and that's what he said he was going to do. He was already like showing red flags. Like he kept Eric Adams police commissioner, Jessica Tisch. She is billionaire class. She's from a billionaire family. No idea what she's doing as the top cop in New York City, except to be the guardian of the billionaire class interests.
Mm.
And he kept her on against like everyone who voted for him is like, why? What are you doing? Another red flag is he's coming out strong about we need to build more affordable housing, which has always been the code for giving developers more money and more power over New York. And they already run this city. Like all politicians in New York bow to the developers.
That part.
And he didn't like recognize that that's an issue. He's talking about these huge building projects that are going to transform neighborhoods. But those shiny buildings are not like for people who can't afford to pay rent. Even the affordable buildings are people who are making like six figures.
That part.
And it's just it's disappointing to a lot of people. But there are these people who are very much like the vote no matter who, and like they kind of have a criticism of liberals for voting for Biden, but they're showing the same exact, like blind, ideation of Mamdani because he comes out a little more leftist.
Yeah.
But he's not showing that. He's showing the same thing as any other politician.
Yeah.
They also, there was a new law. It's called, we have this program called City FEPS, where it subsidizes housing, pays for part of people's rent. So the City FEPS program was expanded to include hundreds of thousands more New Yorkers by law. Eric Adams refused to implement that law.
What?
And Mamdani, when he ran, he said that yes, he will follow that law because it's good for New Yorkers. We want to house more New Yorkers. We want more people to stop like losing their apartments.
Right.
And he's in office now, and he's also refusing to implement that law.
No.
And he's hiding behind, we have these budget issues. And meanwhile, he was running on tax the rich. We're going to tax the rich.
Wow.
And the governor has a lot of say over that. We have this centrist Democrat, right-wing Democrat governor, Hochul, who will never tax the rich. She has come up publicly, we won't tax the rich. So Mamdani endorses her.
Wow.
She's up for re-election. Instead of supporting a challenger that is more like aligned with the values of his voters, he endorses Hochul, who does not believe in tax the rich. So it just goes to show you that you can't trust none of them. They all work for the same billionaires. They just painted differently.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also just want to tell listeners and viewers who have all this, this love for Mamdani, it's okay to hold the fact that this person is not able to be consistent. That's real. It's okay to honor houseless people's voices who know what's happening to us and recognize that that's unjust. And what you just told me about this rent supporting law. That's some BS. I mean, if he's going down that road, that's a slippery slope to hell. And yeah, I call them developers, and they do run, right? They do run all these rich settler towns, same like in Frisco out here. I just want to say thank you, relatives. Thank you for doing the real work, and to remind folks to support, warriors on the ground, poor people movements, houseless people, and housed people working together to actually do real stuff. And no, we're not going to, no matter how many times you sweep us, incarcerated us, or study us, we're not leaving. How about that? Tell listeners and viewers any last words and where they can find you, family.
Yeah, they could follow us on Instagram at Rent Refusers, RETREFUSERS. We have a post up right now that explains a lot of this stuff that's going on. We also have a fundraiser to make a bulk order of supplies for people who are going to be going through this.
Ashe. So much love, family, and we will be talking to you soon. Keep the truth up. Keep the real work up.
All right. Thank you so much.
Ashe. Yeah. You're listening and watching Poor People's Radio. That's PNN, not CNN, where we give you the hard truth you may not even want to hear. How about that? How about that? That, this person that I cheered for too, and that is, they just got this relative out of in ICE detention jail, and that's real too. So, we can have that truth happen at the same time as recognizing that they're falling back on promises. How about that? I feel that people only want to idealize these leaders and not recognize, that they live or they're trying to operate in a system that is broken and is full of lies. How about that? So yeah.
Our last offering, a podcast from Poverty Scholar, is called Beautiful.
Beautiful. Sidewalks scraped are beautiful. Tents erased are beautiful. People who slept on Mama Earth without rent, now set for arrest. That's beautiful. Yeah, I see you shivering in the cold night. Not here. Not in my sights. 'Cause you aren't beautiful. Beautiful is clean and unseen, and your messy humanity isn't beautiful. How is absence of life beautiful? How is absence of life make any sense? How does not there make you feel beauty as you stare at the vacant and lonely landscape everywhere? How does rocks and glocks and what was now is what's not spell beautiful in all those photo shots? But this is the crap of the lost. You rot as you move through systems that stand on the broken backs of profit and loss. Even when it was human life that was cost. So I take back the sidewalk cracks. I claim beauty in all the parts of humanity, especially our brokenness and all that we houseless humans lack. I take back that street corner, that park bench, that tent, and the lies that we only safe if we have the lie of rent.
Oh! Powerful words. Yes, from Poverty Scholar. Again, beautiful medicine.
NYC to Frisco, bruh. All in land.
So that's all for this edition of Poor People's Radio. To get a complete podcast, you can go to Poor Magazine on SoundCloud or poormagazine.org or whatever you get your podcast from. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, Blue Sky at Poor Magazine or at Poverty Scholar or Poor News Network on YouTube. All power to the people.
Power!
Power!
We!